Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's call with my good friend, Dr. Mariza Snyder. We're talking about something that all of you always ask us a lot of questions about, and there's so much interest, and that's essential oils. And layer that on top of the fact that we have most of you in peri-menopause and menopause, and things have never been more fun than before. It's like
we're in it too, girl, right?
right?
Like, I just want to speak into that you and I are both in this together with all of you, right? And so we want to speak into how to create that ease and grace.
Yeah, so totally. And here's the thing, right? Like I can definitely say I'm entering perimenopause. I'm 48 right now, and my luteal phase is getting shorter. My sleep is not the same as what it used to be. In fact, I had a horrible night's sleep last night. I don't know what I did wrong because I thought I did everything right. So we're gonna talk about that. Like if you have a sleepless night, what can you do with a bit of essential oil help with that? Well, first question for you: what made you write about menopause specifically? Like, I mean, you just had a baby, so obviously you're not in menopause yourself yet.
No, I'm not in menopause yet. I'm in perimenopause postpartum. That's where I'm at. That's where my continuum is. But yeah, let me speak into that. So, growing up, I think a lot of us, we were told that menopause is the beginning of the end. Like you just fall off the cliff. I know my mom, told horror stories of my grandmother. She was like, I'm not ready for all of this. And then I got to be a part of my mom's journey in perimenopause and menopause. And what a lot of us don't realize is that it's not really menopause that is the hot mess. It's actually the perimenopause journey to menopause. And I don't know how that got lost on practitioners, on society, but like they didn't really gear us up for this 10, 12-year transition into that new beginning of menopause, right? And so my mom's going through it and she's like, what the heck is this? No one told me at 45 I was going to be feeling things, or 44 or 46 or 47. And then at 48 is really where it kind of just she was in the eye of the storm, is where I find a lot of women can be. Sleep was struggling, weight resistance was happening. She was putting on weight and she's like, I'm still working out every day. What is going on with me? And then the night sweats kept coming in. She felt a little more triggered. She felt very angry when her cycle came on, and she just felt like everything that she had dealt with in her 20s and her 30s just amplified. It's like she was like the Hulk, at different times. And so it was the hot flashes that finally was the straw that broke her back. She was like, I'm over this. And so she decided not to bother me about it. She's like, I didn't want to bother you. Moms are. And she went to some other doctor locally. And she was like, I asked for labs because you tell me to always ask for labs. And they were like, we don't need labs. They don't tell us anything. Here's an estrogen patch, a Premarin patch. And they sent her on her way. And so she puts this patch on because she's desperate to get rid of these hot flashes. And she ends up falling. She already was estrogen dominant. She had massive estrogen dominance. And I just wasn't aware of this going on. So she falls into a major spiral. Weight goes on to her. She puts on another 15 pounds on her hips, her thighs, her belly. Her sleep gets worse. Her anxiousness gets worse. But she ends up in this dark, depressive hole that she can't get out of, to the point that she's having suicidal thoughts. Like she can't get out of bed in the morning. She doesn't have any motivation to go to work or to hang out with her best friends. And she calls me at midnight one night in the middle of this because it's getting worse. It's not getting better. And she's like, Mariza, I'm so scared. I don't know what's going on with me. And I knew immediately that they were just pumping too much estrogen into her body. And it had just gotten out of control. And her detox systems weren't optimized. Her gut and her liver weren't processing fast enough. And so I was like, you've got to get off this patch immediately. But we weaned her off. We know that estrogen can become addictive, especially synthetic estrogen. So we were really mindful of that. And I got her on my 21-day program, cleared up estrogen, cleared up her detox pathways, did a major liver detox. And on the other side of it, lost 25 pounds, no more hot flashes, no more night sweats. But most importantly, her depression was gone. And at that point, at 50 years old, oh my goodness, I don't have Kingston with me right now.
But I was hoping you'll bring him out.
She decided at 50 years old, she's like, I am going to redefine this next decade. It's my decade. I'm not going to listen to what society's telling me. I'm going to redefine it on my terms. And she did. She has ran 75 half marathons and marathons in her 50s. She's 60 years old now. She, she's in Daisy Dukes and cute little tennis outfits.
Yeah.
She's got hair extensions and
She's
and
a hot mama.
She's hot and she knows it. And she's doing it on her terms, which is what I love. And she is just redefining her life, and not even her age, just her life in general. And the beautiful thing is that she turned it around at 49. Like she was in it and she was like, I'm going to own this. I'm going to make the pivots. And then she just literally sauntered into her 50s and beyond without the help of, she didn't use. She at that point decide not to go back on hormones and luckily didn't need them. And I know that's not the case for everybody, but for my mama, it worked out really well.
Yeah. So you have a new book,
yes.
Essential Oils Menopause Solution. Wonderful book. I really enjoy reading it.
Yay.
So what is and it's kind of cool because, I always say that essential oils are just one of the tools in a toolbox. They're not a solution for everything. So
no.
One of the things that, I'll just say straight up that annoys the crap out of me is when we get questions such as, I have hot flashes, what's the one essential oil that I can use to overcome it, right? And the truth is that you're just looking, basically, you were like, well, I'm better than prescription. So I want something that's not prescription. So I don't see a doctor for that because I'm in this whole holistic medicine space. But the truth of the matter is that you actually subconsciously probably going from a pill to an essential oil as a solution is is just a replacement for your RX.
Yes.
And the saddest thing of all is that essential oils on its own is not going to solve.
No, not your hot flashes. No,
hot flashes is an example. Yeah.
Let's talk about what hot flashes are. Yeah, I think it's so important. Yeah, I love essential oils.
Can I just say about your book? What I like about your book is that it doesn't make a claim that like there's an essential oil for every remedy, and you're gonna be like, or make outrageous claims like use this essential oil to treat your cancer and all that kind of nonsense that you do see online, even though they're now cleaning up that a lot. But there's been a lot of practitioners that have been doing that, which drives me crazy. So, and you've approached it from a much broader perspective, which I really appreciate. So, let's talk about hot flashes. And I also want our listeners to, hey, can we do a book giveaway?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to do a book giveaway.
Okay.
We could also do we could do my Superwoman blend and a book giveaway because that's a favorite.
So your blends are famous. So hey, you guys. So here is the deal. The person who asks like the most insightful, interesting question is gonna get copy of the book, and the runner-up. No, let's do the oil as the first, the winner, and the book is the runner-up. Right? Can we do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And so let's talk about hot flashes, but you have a lot of other topics here as well. And I just want to read it out so that you guys can decide. Tell us, what else do you want us to talk about? So she has specific, so the book has specific, Dr. Mariza has specific topics here, like stress, the silent killer, sleep issues and what's causing that in menopause. And then, obviously we can talk about the different essential oils for that. She has a chapter on hot flashes and night sweats, low energy and fatigue, mood swings, anxiety, depression. We have thyroid issues, digestive issues, brain fog, cognitive function. That's going to be mine because I didn't sleep, so I reserved that one for me. Low libido and vaginal dryness, pelvic floor dysfunction, heavy bleeding, and fibroids. So you guys tell us, what would you like for her to talk about today? And we're going to start out with hot flashes. In case you're coming in late, Essential Oils Menopause Solutions now available on Amazon. Go and get it. I highly recommend it. Awesome book. So hot flashes.
Yes. So let's talk about hot flashes because, let's just really quickly, I want to just dismiss a myth right now that menopause is hot flashes and missed periods. There's so much more going on there, and there's so much more changes happening in the body as well. But we want to know, why is a big chunk of this world women aren't even having hot flashes. There's a lot of women in this world who don't even have hot flashes. And so we have to speak into like, what is driving hot flashes to begin with? It's not just estrogen deficiency. It absolutely isn't. I think it has a lot to do with our liver being congested and not working properly. I think it has a lot to do with insulin resistance as well, which is naturally, unfortunately, happening to most women in their 40s and beyond. And also with the stress response system. I think that when we activate the stress response system, that these are all root cause drivers for hot flashes. And that a hot flash spray or those types of things, or an estrogen patch, like for my mama, may not be the answer to getting rid of your hot flashes. And if we're not addressing the root cause of what's driving hot flashes, then I don't care what kind of potion and pills you're taking, we're probably not going to get to the root cause of what's going on.
So, one of the things that happened a few months ago is I posted in our forum asking what has helped you with your hot flashes. And it's interesting you mentioned insulin resistance, because a lot of women said that when they reduce sugar or change their breakfast,
or stop drinking wine.
Yeah, that's right. Alcohol is also sugar. Their hot flashes significantly reduced, and so that's a huge one. Now, and I feel like it's also a combination with inflammation. If you lower your inflammation, like get off like gluten and dairy, reduce alcohol, reduce caffeine, I think all of that can be wonderful. So talk about essential oils that you recommend that can be coupled with that for hot flashes.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It's going to take a minute to clean the liver up, to clean up the gut, to reduce the inflammation, to get your stress response system dialed. Let's be honest, some of us are on that journey for the rest of our lives. And so it is nice to have something that can help with the hot flashes while we are doing the bigger healing work. And that's really what essential oils do. They come in and help to give you those instant wins while you're doing the bigger work. They are not a cure-all for anything, although they are powerful chemistry and they can really help support. They're not just going to get rid of your hot flashes or your stress response system or your trauma or your mood swings or whatever else is going on.
I'm so glad you're saying that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I do have a hot flash spray. Again, love for you not to have hot flashes at all. But if you are still having them and you want a little extinguisher, it's a 2-ounce bottle. A little bottle. You can do witch hazel or distilled water, whatever you prefer. And it's 10 drops of peppermint, 5 drops of clary sage, and 5 drops of geranium. And you just literally spritz it over. It's also great for cooling down. It's also great for emotional well-being. So there's multitude side benefits to using a little blend like this. But I call it my hot flash extinguisher. Again, want you to be mindful of these other changes that one needs to make to support our metabolic function, to reduce that vasodilating experience that happens when we have a hot flash.
And then you have a number of different recipes here. By the way, the recipes here are really lovely and they're really, really simple, which I love. Like not using any essential oils that are like weird or incredibly expensive, and you're like, where do I get this from? So and then you have also like other roller ball blends, like the cool down roller blend. I like somebody mentioned just now that they love your Superwoman rollerblade blend. Do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So my Superwoman blend is probably my most famous blend. It's been around the world many times. And I created it because I wanted a blend that really embodied really owning our best selves. And I think every single one of us is a Superwoman, and we do a lot of Superwoman activities every single day. And so I wanted an oil that could really support that. And so this particular blend is multifaceted. It's got clary sage, lavender, geranium, cedarwood, ylang-ylang. And so it's designed to not only support emotional well-being, reduce stress levels, but it can be great. It lowers prostaglandins. So if you're having crazy menstrual cramps, it can help with that. It's great for hot flashes because it does help to support hormones, like hormone levels. But overall, it's one of those oils that you can wear as a perfume, like just smell good, feel good, that really has you step into your best zone of genius. So for me, I use it all the time because I just love the way it makes me feel. And my body knows, my brain knows that when I put that blend on, I'm like my queen state. Like I am just in my highest self when I wear that blend.
Oh dear. And you know what? I was kind of curious if you remembered every one of them in the recipes. And
Yes, I
then you
know the
do.
recipe.
So
I do. And I even have mama brain right now. I was also up multiple times last night because of the baby. But so it is 12 drops of clary sage, 10 drops of lavender. I believe it is 5 drops of geranium and cedarwood and 4 drops of ylang-ylang.
yes. Woohoo. Exactly.
It's because I'm
You are
using
so
my,
fun.
I've got my,
Awesome.
brain function is so important for all of us, right? And so
Yeah.
I take my supplements every day. I eat my green leafy veggies. I eat my yummy healthy fats, a lot of olive oil, and I use my cognitive boosting essential oils.
Well, clearly it's working. Okay, so let's talk about, for those of you coming in late, we are talking about Mariza's latest book, The Essential Oil Menopause Solution, and a lot of the recipes are coming from here. We try to type them out for you guys at the bottom, but really, when we ask you what would you like to talk about, like, we are getting like every single topic here, so I don't even know how to pick. So selfishly,
Everyone's like, I want that blend. Give me that blend and give me that book. Well, I want to speak into, because they are some deep topics. This book is, and I know you've read it, and just like yours, I'm so in love with yours. What I love about both of us is that we really know how to really create a comprehensive plan, a comprehensive book.
No
and so
fluff.
this book,
No
it's
fluff.
dense. Yes.
Yeah.
And so there is no fluff in here whatsoever in either book, let's be honest. And so I had to cut 160,000 words down to 95,000 words. Best believe if there was fluff, we got rid of it. And so, I wanted from women, I wanted so much for women was to know why. What is going on in my body right now? Why am I feeling this symptom? And then I wanted you to understand the interconnection between our hormones, our endocrine system. What are the players here? And then lastly, what is the most research-backed evidence and solutions for every single one of these concerns? And so a lot of it went in there, so much so that the biblio is online. My bibliography was 60 pages, and they said, you keep your biblio or you keep a chapter. And I was like, if you take one more chapter from me, I swear to goodness. So we ended up moving the majority of the biblio online because it was 60 pages of the book. So there's 12 pages of biblio with a link to go and pull up the entire rest of the bibliography, because I refused to give up one more chapter. I just couldn't do it. I was like, don't you touch my book.
Giving up a chapter is like cutting off a finger of your toddler's, hand, right? So
I already gave up 4. I gave up 4 other chapters, and 3 of them are in my bonuses because I wanted you to still have them. And those bonuses were cardiovascular health, weight resistance, breast health, osteo health, because at the end of the day, as we move into menopause, the number one killer for us as women is still cardiovascular disease. Yeah. We got to be mindful about that. And so I wanted women to feel like, looking forward, how do we protect our bones, our breast, and our heart? And our so brain. Those are bonus, and luckily the brain kept in. I was like, we got to keep the brain in the book, but those are bonus chapters in my little bonus toolkit for you.
Gotcha. So the writing didn't go to waste. You basically turned that into bonuses. Very smart.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. Have you found that women who have like the worst PMSs and periods they have, the worst of a perimenopause and menopause they have?
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yeah. I always say if it's bad for you now, it's coming for you later.
Yeah.
And totally. we have to know, like, we have to ask ourselves, because your menstrual cycle, it didn't decide, you know what, Sarah, you know what, Stephanie, I'm coming for you. Like, your menstrual cycle never said that or never wanted to do that to you. There's no self-sabotage here. Your menstrual cycle is an indicator. It's a 5th vital sign. If your menstrual cycle is off, then we've got to look at what is causing your menstrual cycle to be off. It's oftentimes an inflammatory state in your gut or an inflammatory state in your body. And we've got to address that inflammation. And so I think that if we're seeing inflammation in our 20s and our early 30s, do you think that inflammation is going anywhere in our 40s? No, it is not. And then you add the tumultuousness of our changes, our ovaries deciding to bow out. You combine that too, we are talking about the perfect storm. Yeah. And that's why, and then we become insulin resistant. And then we have inflammation in our brain. What brain fog is at the core is we've got a little bit of inflammation going on there. And so we have to address that. I'm tired of doctors just chalking things up to, oh, it's just age, or oh, it's just hormones, or oh, it's just whatever. Like, it's just so dismissive. And I'm like, no, we need to look at what's really causing these issues in our body and pivot with the changes. So yes, if you had crazy menstrual cycle issues, period issues in your 20s and early 30s, and that wasn't addressed, yes, unfortunately, that windy, scary, bumpy road to menopause is not going to be as easy as you would hope.
Yeah, absolutely. I see this with a lot of women as well. And so, ladies, for those of you who are still menstruating, do fix your period right now, because it's only going to be easier later for you when perimenopause is really can be. If you think your period is bad, perimenopause is really going to kick any woman's butt hard.
And if you're thinking you're not well resourced in this, I just want to name off a couple of books that you've got to get. And you got to get mine, by the way. But I want to talk about some other books that you want to get. If you are before perimenopause, menopause, Fix Your Period by Nicole Jardim, The Period Manual by Laura Brydon, Lisa Henderson Jack, the menstrual cycle, your fifth vital sign, and then Magdalena's Cooking for Hormone Balance. Like, those are critical books to get your hands on even when you're cycling. And then clearly the Estrogen Dominance book by Magdalena, and then my new book as well. It's important to have a library of these gorgeous resources, because your primary, they don't know. They just don't know. They weren't taught this, and even your OBGYN, unfortunately, they're following protocols. They know that they fall short in this department. Luckily, there are practitioners and functional driven practitioners who we get it. We know what's going on. We see the whole picture. And that's why we write these books, because honestly, you're not going to get
so we are getting requests to cover every single topic on your book. So we can't do that. Go and get the book. It's on Amazon right now. The Essential Oils for Menopause Solution. So let's talk about, I'm going to selfishly choose that, because for some strange reason, and this is part of, of entering perimenopause, your sleep is just not as good as it was before, right? And I'm still hacking in and trying to figure it out. I'm not sure what went wrong yesterday. Probably magnesium low, progesterone low at this point. I'm just about to get my period. So, that's when your hormones are the lowest. So I barely slept, and I don't particularly feel super refreshed or in a good mood this morning, right? And so we have a whole chapter on brain fog and cognitive function. And so I will do with a bit of a perking up of my brain function, because I do have quite a long day with a lot of things to do. So
yes,
I like how you talk about in the chapter about a number of different things of what's going on. A low estrogen, you address low progesterone, too much cortisol, thyroid hormone imbalance, dysregulation of insulin and blood sugar, stress, poor sleep can all contribute towards that, gut health and toxins. Since we're here talking, focusing a little bit more on essential oils, what can I be putting in my diffuser this afternoon to kind of pick me up a little bit?
So I love my Instant Focus Diffuser blend, which I hope you have all the oils for. It's the first one listed. Frankincense, peppermint, and rosemary. So rosemary has a very specific chemical constituent called 1,8-cinnalol. And what we know is that it helps to break down acetylcholine in the brain so that you have more of it. So your mitochondria are running at a higher capacity, specifically in the brain. And so I love that rosemary. Like, we think about, I forget if it's Ophelia in Shakespeare about rosemary being that memory oil, but we know in research that it's absolutely true. Now, peppermint has menthol, and which is a powerful booster. It oxygenates the lungs, that oxygenates the brain. And then frankincense has monoterpenes and sequiterpenes in it that also helps to establish neuroplasticity, but helps to propagate messages from our neurons. So each and every one of these oils, not only is there research backing up their benefits to brain function, but they work in conjunction in a synergy together to really help boost alertness, focus, and concentration. So I love that blend.
You know what? I love you talking about that. And one of the things that reminds me about rosemary, when I was going through herbal school, every week we had to pick an herb and be with that herb. and taken in different forms. And so I didn't pick rosemary, but because I don't love rosemary, but a lot of my colleagues did, and classmates did. And then we were doing a discussion on how this herb affected them. And it was really fascinating how to see that people who took it at night, that was a big mistake. They made it like into infusions, as a tea. They just couldn't sleep. They were so alert. Yes. They were like, they had like super vivid dreams. And yes, I would say, just the word across the board was just very energizing, very mentally stimulating. Great, like late in the afternoon, instead of doing another cup of coffee, you do your rosemary. But boy, I mean, what an eye opener that was. All right, why don't we take some questions, Brittany? Let's stop popping up some of the better questions. And for those of you who are coming a little bit later, we're talking about Dr. Mariza Snyder's latest book, The Essential Oil Menopause Solution, that's now available on Amazon. Go over to Amazon, look for it. Okay, Jacqueline is asking, how do the essential oils support our endocrine system relating to Hashimoto's disease and hormone balance? Very close topic to your heart, Mariza.
Yes, because I've used essential oils because I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Yay! So it's as you can imagine, an autoimmune condition is multifaceted, right? We think about the symptoms of Hashimoto's, brain fog, weight resistance, stress response. What else did I experience? Menstrual cycle issues. I mean, like across the board.
You did not have hair loss because you have
I did not have hair loss.
I want to get half of your hair. That will be super helpful. But someone like me, like I lost half my hair when I had Hashimoto's.
Yeah, right? Or constipation, nails, skin.
Some women lose like a third of their eyebrows here. Your eyelashes
I did.
Falling out. You did? Okay.
I did. I lose my eyelash or my eyebrows.
Fair, at least you lose it on your eyebrows, damn it.
Yes, at least I lost my eyebrows. I was like, what? I look like Casper. Casper the Friendly Ghost. So mind you, so you can use essential oils to support a lot of that, the symptomology, but where I really wanted to focus essential oils was in supporting my gut and my liver. And so, but also, mind you, I was on some major Hashimoto's and thyroid protocols, supplementation, food, all of those things, essential oils, which is a part of it. And so I did I did castor oil packs on my gut and liver with frankincense and turmeric, ginger, peppermint, and fennel. These are great oils. They've been studied. All of those oils have been studied on the gut and the liver to support the liver's function and to support the gut motility, reducing inflammation, and supporting the microbiome. And so I would make up a little roller, and I have liver blends and gut blends inside of the book. And I would do a castor oil pack over the oils on top of it. And nice. I would sleep castor oil pack on at night, overnight, for many days in a row. So that helped decrease the congestion that was going on in my gut and helped to support liver detoxification pathways. But I definitely used essential oils to pair with it. Also, I used oils for my brain fog. I had massive brain fog, and the blends that we were just talking about a second ago, the oils that we were talking about, I used for that. And then I also used oils to support my thyroid, but just note that these oils were not curing my Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I did a lot of work on getting the immune system and reducing inflammation, but I did use oils like frankincense and myrrh, heavily, heavily diluted over the thyroid to just help support it while I was healing it. And I have an entire chapter literally on this topic inside of the book.
Mm-hmm. You do. I like the Happy Gut Rollerball blend. Can I just read out the ingredients? Mm-hmm. So it's got ginger, essential oil, fennel, peppermint, clove. Very nice. I like that. Very warming. All of those are very warming essential oils.
Very warming, and also nothing in this book I wasn't well researched. Luckily oils have been looked at in terms of gut function, and we see where in the clove in particular is all about supporting the healthy bacteria microbiome. So clove is the most powerful antioxidant in the world. If you look at the ORAC scale, it's the number one. And so it has a lot of antioxidant driven properties that can support our microbiome. So that was the reason why clove is on that list, is that there's a lot of great research that demonstrates that clove is great for the digestive system.
Right. And just a little bit of it, because it is a very
very little bit of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we have a question here. Is there a blend or oil to help the liver to detox?
Absolutely. So just to give you a little blend, like a roller blend like this, I usually do 5 drops of rosemary, 5 drops of grapefruit, because grapefruit's great for the liver as well. Rosemary has also been well researched. 5 drops of geranium. And then I usually do, if you can get your hands on turmeric, another 3 drops of turmeric and frankincense, and just have it in a roller like this. Put it over the liver. And then, like I said, to really amplify the results on that, do a castor oil pack.
Mm-hmm. Love it. And what I love about castor oil is that it is the deepest penetrating oil. So it's going to bring those oils really deep in. The other thing about it is, like, I always think of castor oil as like a great mover. Like, it just moves everything, right? You drink it, you get like a massive diarrhea. So don't drink it.
Don't drink it.
Right? I'm just saying, if you did, women who are pregnant, you can actually induce contractions or labor. Actually, you can induce labor by drinking castor oil. So that's how powerful of a mover it is. And so when it relaxes everything, right, in the liver, the easy, anything that's relaxed works a lot better and detoxifies better. So just a really wonderful way to do this. All right, let's see what other questions do we get. Any oils for hyperplasia? There is hardly any info out there about natural remedies for it. I went through menopause years. I'm 56. I don't want to get a hysterectomy, but I tell you, I'm getting really sick of this.
Yes. So my recommendation, my go-to oil for that is going to be frankincense. And I love frankincense. You're talking about castor oil packs. They would be frankincense over the uterus and ovaries with a castor oil pack as well, because again, it's driving deeper. It's moving a lot of the congestion out, bringing in good blood in, and helping to reduce inflammation.
Yeah, they're very nice. Thank you. Dawn is asking, what book are we talking about? We're talking about the Essential Oils Menopause Solution that's just come out on Amazon, written by Dr. Mariza Snyder. You can, Brittany, maybe let's post the link to Amazon so folks can go and grab it there.
Yes, it's on sale in Amazon right now, and we have it in Kindle and Audible. So whatever works for you right now. Right now, I am doing Audible because with a brand new baby, it's almost impossible to read a real book. So I wear my earbuds and a phone pretty much everywhere I go. So just if you find yourself that busy in like that time of your life, that season where you're just not able to read a book, I recommend getting it on Audible.
Jenna is asking, which is more of a priority before getting hormones in check, colon cleanse or liver cleanse?
Oh gosh, both. I wouldn't say one or the other. I think that they're both. You think about these are detox pathways, our gut and our liver, and they both have to be working together in conjunction. You think about like a tub, right? If you could have your liver could be running, but your gut could be the stopgap. Or your small intestine could be running, but your colon is the stopgap. And so I could never pick them. I think we got to be dialing them all in at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's
doable to do both.
Totally. Yeah. So, I was going to talk about constipation, but that's not a huge topic. Never mind. Moving on. Tracy's asking, when somebody goes through cancer treatment for estrogen receptor positive cancer and then put on estrogen blocker, can you order a Dutch test and work on your lifestyle adjustments with gut and liver while still on this medication? So often, once a cancer patient, the fear factor is high, so you can do both meds and lifestyle adjustments. That's a good question.
It is a great question. And as you can imagine, there's not a simple answer to this question. Everybody's body is very, very unique. The Dutch test has more than just measuring estrogen on it. It's measuring progesterone, DHEA, testosterone, cortisol, vitamin D, organic acids. And I think all of that information is super critical to get your hands on. So I would absolutely run the Dutch test no matter what, so that you can see what's happening with the pathways of your other hormones. I'd also run other full panels as well, just so we know what's going on with insulin and thyroid hormone, all of those other hormones. In terms of lifestyle adjustments, supplements, herbs, healing your gut and liver, I think I think anytime's a good time to love up on your gut and liver, especially when you're dealing with a inflammatory condition like cancer. So I don't know if there's a lot of doctors that are going to contraindicate you eating some gut healing foods and loving up on your liver, even with just foods alone. Maybe it's not supplements, maybe it's not herbal remedies, maybe it's just food. I don't see like my I've had so many women in my life with breast cancer, estrogen dominant breast cancer, where after they've had cancer, they have really cleaned up their gut and liver so that the cancer did not come back. And I do believe that there's a lot of benefits to doing that. I think you just have to be mindful about the types of herbs and certain nutrients you bring back in terms of supplementation. But I would be working with a functional doctor specifically for that case, your case.
And can I just add to the Tracy question, and anybody dealing with cancer, is that I highly also recommend for you to work with a functional oncologist.
Yes.
Who can really help you understand, that estrogen blockers are blocking all estrogens, right? And so it's got its own consequences. That's why, like, if women who are put on tamoxifen, are only on tamoxifen for about 5 years, and then they have to get off because it does so much liver damage. There's other ways of blocking your receptors. And I've never come across a functional oncologist who would not talk about lifestyle changes to a patient. And so sleep, cleaning up your house, cleaning up your cleaning products, your skincare products, reducing stress, optimizing your liver, like what Mariza said. It's all of that is absolutely non-negotiable to me for avoiding recurrence, but also to give you the sense of peace and confidence that this is not going to come back. So
absolutely. Even addressing trauma. I think that's another piece that we've got to look at. And so, we got to think about, always that why question is, why did I get cancer in the first place?
Yeah.
And what about my life? What about me? How am I living my life that brought that on? And so, and just really doing that deep dive into how can I create more harmony in my body so that I'm not a recipient, I'm not welcoming cancer.
Okay. Lynn is asking, with COVID and quarantine, so many people are experiencing depression, anxiety. Is there a blend that can help both adults and children suffering from anxiety, depression? Great question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think combining essential oils with mindful practices, yes, we've dealt with the level of stress that we have not seen in a very long time. Children, not being able to see friends and family, being stuck in their homes, moms taking on more, and women taking on more than they ever imagined. I think, 33 million of women are out of the workforce because they were forced to go home. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. The self-care piece is going to be huge. The managing our stress response system is going to be huge because we're just triggering it up so much faster and so much more intense than we ever have. But having a way to change your state, essential oils are a great way to do that. But also breath work, meditation, journaling, dancing, any of these things, hugging a friend, hugging a puppy, hugging anybody.
Getting an orgasm.
Getting an orgasm, yes, boosting oxytocin levels is going to be so critical here for babies, children, and mamas, everybody alike. And so essential oils wise, my go-to oils, I want to list the oils really quickly, are going to be ylang-ylang, jasmine, lavender, frankincense, patchouli, which may not be a fan favorite, but it's well researched. Bergamot, and my other go-to favorite is clary sage. Any of those oils are going to help reduce stress, anxiety, and then when it comes to depression, frankincense, citrus oils like grapefruit, wild orange, lemon, whatever citrus oil you can, and then also herbs like rosemary and basil can help to elevate mood.
I also like the first one here in your book is called the Release Anxious Feelings Diffuser Blend. It's called Sandalwood, which is my personal favorite.
Oh, I love sandalwood's on that list.
Amazing. Yeah, cedarwood as well. Awesome. And I just remembered a story of this woman who was living just a few doors down from me when I lived in my previous house in Boulder. She had a child who probably was on the spectrum, and he had a lot of fits. And so sometimes it would, of course, happen, when they were on a walk, and she had in her purse orange essential oil, and she would always ask him to open up his hands, and she would drop a few drops of orange, and he would already know what to do, and he just went like that, and you can see like the child was just like transformed, like right there and then, which is pretty amazing. Like from a full-on screaming child to a pretty self-contained, with a bit more self-control child, was pretty amazing to see that.
Absolutely. We see a lot of families and mamas, especially with children with autism or ADHD, using essential oils because it's such a fast acting chemistry that can change the brain really quickly. But I think, so much of us, there's the trauma that's connected to COVID and all the changes that have happened. I know so many people are dealing with trauma. And so I have trauma soothing blends as well with clary sage, lavender, sandalwood, tangerine, and copaiba. Like there's just a lot of the research around what essential oils can do for trauma, what they can do for stress and anxiety. And I do have a lot of those recipes that are really easy to make inside of the book.
Yeah, awesome. Also, just one other thing to add, when it comes to breathing, I have found that, I remember when I was in advertising towards my end career there, I had a very abusive manager who would intimidate, belittle people in meetings in front of everybody else. And I remember having to go to the bathroom just to breathe, just to get me through the day, and so you don't break down and fall apart. And this was like my introduction to the breathing techniques of really calming yourself down. And so there's a phenomenal book I want to recommend. It's called Breathe. Just Breathe. You can look it up on Amazon. It's different breathing techniques, and pick one that really suits you. It can be something as simple as the 4-7-8 technique that I often teach. You inhale to the count of 4, you hold it for the count of 7, you exhale slowly to the count of 8. And this is what I used to do in the bathroom when I was at an agency, just to kind of get my composure and not have a total meltdown. So let's do one more last question. Rebecca says she just got your book on Audible.
Thanks, Rebecca.
There's a really good question here from Emma M. And so let's just maybe wrap this up with this question. Is there any oil that we should be careful when used, like interactions or adverse effects? Really important question.
Such a great question. All essential oils, like all plant-based medicines and herbals, they're powerful, they're profound. And I think we should be mindful of how much, Vitex we take, or how, there's always, in terms of, herbal remedies as well. Even, how many, we could even overdo it with some of the vegetables, that we eat. We have to be mindful of really mixing those things up too. And so, yes, I think any essential oil, if we can overuse, or it can be a high concentration. So I think, really being mindful about diluting your oils are going to be super important here. In terms of contraindication, it just really depends.
Can I just talk before you talk about that? I just want to give folks an example, especially if you're new to oils. I remember when I first started diffusing essential oils, it was always this belief, like, I'm going to put a lot in there. So instead of putting like 3-4 drops, I'll be like, I'm going to do 12. And then 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I got a headache. I can't think. My head is pulsating here, right? And it was like, and I remember somebody said to me, there is such a thing as too much of the good thing. And so, like, I'm glad you talk about dilution and just being moderate with it, because sometimes with oils, it's like less is better.
Less is definitely better. Yeah. They pack a punch, they pack a wallop. So a lot of these blends, they're take into consideration, lower concentrations, because we don't need a lot. With terms of contraindication, I do talk about some of those in here. I talk about, like, one for an example is, I don't recommend clary sage when women are pregnant. Now, some midwives and some labor specialists say it's absolutely fine, but I'm more I side on being careful. So many women try really hard to get pregnant, and last thing we want to do is cause any concern around inducing contractions too early. And so that would be a great example. Or, rosemary internally, and I don't recommend, there's no oils in here that I'm recommending internally inside of this book. But if you were to take rosemary internally, it could raise blood pressure, and so and it's usually oftentimes with internal usage that we're more mindful of. But often if you've got a decent, low level dilution in terms of a diffuser blend, which is what I focus on in this book, you're A-okay. And again, there's not a lot of oils. They're very rare oils that really cause major contraindications. When it comes to topical and aromatic, we're pretty safe and pretty good to go.
What about like bergamot and like grapefruit and all that and photosynthesis?
Yes, so there are oils that are photosensitive, bergamot being the number one offender. Yes, if especially if you're in the sun, and you put on, I don't recommend, bergamot on your face or on your hands, like especially high concentration, because it is photosensitive and it will create a chemical burn. That's the same with any citruses, mandarin, lemon, grapefruit, lime, and even if you were to just eat lemons and limes, people do that. The juice from the rind can get on your face and can cause a chemical burn as well. So yes. And then there's some oils that are very warm. Our especially our spices, oregano, cinnamon, thyme, marjoram. These are powerful oils. Clove are very hot to the touch. They are phenomenal for boosting the immune system. But man, you have to be really, really mindful because they can get extremely hot. Oils can get very cooling. Wintergreen, peppermint, spearmint, eucalyptus. Again, great oils for the respiratory system. Great oils for activating alertness and focus. And also great natural analgesics, but very, very cooling to the touch, can be almost cold. So something to think about in those. And I talk about all of that in I think chapter 3.
Great.
Yeah.
Hey guys, new book, The Essential Oils, Menopause Solutions from Dr. Mariza Snyder. It's a beautiful book. A really wonderful way of adding essential oils, layering it on top. Like literally, this is like, we literally mean it here, layering it on top. Some really nice diet changes, adding some nice supplements to your lifestyle, and then adding those essential oils. Just really magic can be created. Well, I'm going to be off to burn some rosemary and frankincense and vetiver, I think it was, for my very alien brain this afternoon, just to perk it up a little bit. And thank you so much for being here. It's always good to talk to you, and you're just a walking encyclopedia of all the constituents in essential oils, and always good talking to you.
Thanks so much, honey, for having me.
Thanks, everyone. And I'm going to be back here in about 10 minutes talking about essential oils. Talking about supplements, actually. And we're going to just cover some FAQs. We are having a free shipping weekend. So if you have any questions on supplements, do stay on, and I'll be back in 10 minutes. Thanks, everyone. And I'll see you soon.